Alright, this is my first ever tarot video. Alright, all the people of the Ensite group, intuitives, tarot and oracle enthusiasts, here it is. I chose today for us to do the weekly spread, or card reading challenge, with the Sun and Moon Tarot. So, it's one that I really like, and it was one of the first decks that I got for myself in recent years when I took back up tarot. So, let's get started. Now, there's a little ritual I like to do before any kind of card reading, but we don't have to do that necessarily here. I also usually wear a ring and maybe even light a candle. I love doing a little bit of incense, but whatever you need to do, it's not just ambience. Think about the energies that you're bringing and the ability to support your focus. Right now, I am trying to teach. So that's sort of my mindset, but I can also get into a reading mood. I'm really flexible about that, and whatever gets you in the space. It's also about what protects your thoughts. And what I mean by that is not that there's this constant fear of something assailing from the outside, but that you could lose your focus, lose your thoughts, maybe even receive thoughts from just generic psychic chatter. Kind of think of it like the snow on a television screen and AM/FM radio, or AM radio for those who, old school folk that remember all that. Because it's just kind of a static, a white noise in the background that your mind might pick up and bring into the spread, and it really shouldn't. And there's different ways that you do it, and it sounds really complicated or spooky, but really what it amounts to is it feels like you're setting an ambience or doing a little ritual, but you're really getting your mind right into what you're doing. So today, we're going to do a spread for Pisces. And Pisces is the big dreamer. Well, why Pisces? Well, first of all, we're in the month of Pisces. Two, the new moon is coming up, and it is also in Pisces. So, even though we've done some spreads recently that have dealt with manifesting your dreams or thinking about your dreams, this just seems appropriate. So we're going to go through something a little different since I'm able to explain it a bit. I'm hoping many of you will watch this before trying the spread, but I'll go slow enough that I hope that you'll all pick it up, and I'll also keep the notes on the Facebook page. Alright, so you saw me shuffle the deck. Don't get caught up on that, most of you don't. But, you know, we can pick all sorts of ways. I love being able to do this, so spread it out like that and choose. But today we're just going to be plain Janing it. So my first card is going to be the beginning of the question, just like many of you that are familiar with how I talk about things. It's all a spread is a really complicated, or not complicated, but a really overly detailed question. The first part is I want to see this represent how I consciously look at my dreams and aspirations that I'm wanting to manifest. So I want to just kind of be mindful of an angle of how I think about it from almost a second person perspective of like, oh wow, I really do think like that. So the next part, and we're going to make a little spiral, and there's different ways we can orient the spiral. I'll show that when we get to a certain point. This card's going to be what the spread has deep down in. It's something that the dream that I'm having, this aspiration, this hope, this thing that I'm wanting to manifest, it has a deeper quality that is not necessarily what I'm thinking it is. That lies underneath. Now that can be subconscious, or that can be unconscious, or that can just simply be that there's more to the implications. That doesn't matter. Now, the next part is about what is starting to manifest, the little bits that are starting to manifest. I want to know this at this point because there's this deep chthonic sort of current that I'm not aware of that's already starting to get something going. This doesn't necessarily interfere with whatever dream or aspiration I'm wanting coming to fruition, but it does mean that it's probably going to set up a completely different appearance, which brings us to another aspect to it. What am I purposely doing, or what is it, that I might not be directly associating with it, but what am I doing that's actually helping that along? But then there's also feedback from the universe concerning my viewpoint, my view on my dreams. So me just emitting, this is my dreams, these are my aspirations, I want them out. Well, this is the universe going, I hear you. Okay, so this next part is, and I'll explain why this is important in a moment. This is how other people are the sort of, not just people, but also the universe is also kind of responding to that call. So here was the universe's input, if you will, or yeah, this is the universe's input. This is other people and other things starting to actually do some manifesting with it. This is a response. This is a augmentation of the dream that we're trying to go. And this is ultimately how other people are seeing it, us express it. So it's an outside perspective of how it's all unfolding. We're at the epicenter. People on the outside are seeing something different. Now, we have, at this point, I think for a lot of the novices, this is probably good enough. But we don't have to. There's a wonderful 7 cards here, and we could shape this nice and neat to make it look like an actual spiral. Wouldn't that be cool? And if you want to do that, that's great. I mean, look at that. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Okay? But for today and simplicity's sake, I'm just going to keep them in a predictable fashion. Them all there. Now, another thing that I've talked about, probably ad nauseum, is, I've probably talked about it a lot, is the fact that some people and some decks and some people's energies and some people's moods, if we start on bringing these up, some of them are going to be reversed and some of them are not. And some people are kind of like, well, reverse means nothing. And some people, reverse means everything. It's like having, instead of 78 cards, it's like having 156 cards. So that's going to be something you're going to have to ask yourself. I am going to go under the assumption that regardless of whether it's reversed or not, I'm going to read it the same. Now, before we get reading, I do actually want to um, get a little more definition. I'm not satisfied, for instance, with just this strange, deep mystery that's coming up. I want to know, what is this going to buck out of my original plan? What is it going to kick out that's not going to stick around and actually manifest? Okay? The reject. Okay, so how I see it, my dreams and aspirations, what's actually going to, what's underneath, what's the deeper identity? How other people see me express my dreams and aspirations? How it's starting to manifest, just the little seeds that have been sown that are sprouting. How I am also furthering that along and nurturing that. How the universe is responding to that viewpoint, and what jointly between the universe and the people around me is starting to be a hand in that manifesting process. Well, between my view and the universe's view, I do actually want to, and the universe's responses, I do actually want to see how that's going to change my viewpoint. Because I'm not going to stay static with how I see it. Everything's growing and evolving. In the end, I don't necessarily want to know how it's all going to play out. That's called spoilers. It also means that it's probably going to be less accurate unless I put forth a lot of energy to make it so. Whether it's a self-fulfilling prophecy or whether it's me really wanting it to become. Instead, I want to bring to the table a viewpoint of how it's going to change my life. It seems pretty obvious from the subject or whatnot, but unintentional stuff. I also want to see, so over here, just simply by being its usual thing, whatever I had a preconception, this is what it leaves behind. Well, there's a process of sheaving and cutting off later on. I want to see what gets left behind, what gets sacrificed. So we've got a mess. We've got a mess. We've brought in 4 other cards. So, and I think we're ready. Alright. Now, here's another thing to consider. When we have negative cards in places that it doesn't necessarily fit to have anything negative. What does that mean? Well, sometimes it's something of overcoming or tackling a challenge. Like here, this usually generally doesn't mean anything good. That usually means that there's some sort of betrayal or heartache or indecision. This is something where it's very objective. It's not going to be me wanting to be sad. So it's going to be something of the idea that that's something I'm wanting to get over. Now, we can put a little more definition to that card, but just wait. So let's kind of see what we've got going on here on some of the other cards, just to make it extra complicated. That's kind of sad, but given all context, okay, before we get deep, ankle deep, knee deep, whatever, let's take a look at when we're not having something where the reverses matter. It still kind of matters because there's a symmetry. In this case, we have a symmetry between the perception cards. Everything on the outside is reversed. Do you see that? And then out of stuff upright, upside down, upright, upside down. Then we get upside down, upright, upside down. Yeah. So we're getting, again, some symmetry. Now, because there's this kind of hiccup starts over here, we can start to focus on, okay, well, what's right side up? These three cards in the main path area. What's already starting to manifest? What's kind of being manifested by others, and what I'm wanting in it. Now, this is really interesting, too, that we also want to look at, is numbered cards. Now we have threes, we have two threes, we have a 5, we have an ace, which actually I almost kind of don't treat it as a number, but we can treat that as a number. But I think what's going interesting is that we have over here 9 and 3, two threes and a 9, with a 5, 3, 8. Okay. What does this mean? You're going to have to ask your intuition that, because sometimes not everybody goes with math, but some people do. I'm pointing this out mainly because there's some interesting things to kind of bring to the table. We have multiple cups. So another symmetry is the elemental symmetry. We have swords being balanced out here. We have earth. We even do have a smattering of fire, though it's very underrepresented. When we have king, queen, and prince of cups, that's a lot of water. And we have a lot of air, too. So this is telling me that this is primarily a psychological, so mental and emotional, and that what's being left behind over here, just by its very nature, from what I'm seeing here, is that it's not taking care. It's not. It's leaving out, or perhaps this is already taken care of, and it's not needing to be processed. What's being left out of the original theme of what I'm trying to grapple with, what I'm wanting, very possibly it's the fact that there's an inner dialogue that's self-sabotaging, that that's not a case, that's not an issue that's being addressed. Well, I want to know, just take a moment here, take a look at everything, we'll move forward. And this is an example, this isn't for you. I pulled this just to figure out, well, sorrow of what? What is my sorrow here? In this case, we have the Hanged Man. So with the Hanged Man, that tells me that there's what I'm wanting to do here, what my hopes and aspirations are reflecting. I'm trying to take care of my inner self. And the Three of Swords and that sorrow is kind of like there's all these things I wanted to do, all these places I wanted to go, and I'm saying what I want to do, my hopes and aspirations for the near future. And again, I'm just reading the cards. This is an example spread. Please do your own. I'm having to reflect. I'm having to think about how things have been, and I'm recognizing, hey, I want to get to a spot where I'm at peace. Here, a deeper nature to this tells me that I'm working towards something, I'm actually building something. It isn't just like, I'm thinking of it self-care wise. No, there's something a bit more. I'm actually doing something, I'm doing a work. Well, here where stuff's starting to manifest, the Queen of Cups, we can say, well, is this a person? I mean, like with a pendulum or your intuition or something. Is this a person? Is this a role I'm trying to play? Is this a spiritual entity? So is it, you know, does it feel like a nurturing factor of the universe is coming into play? You know, it's usually, the personification is very important because it's not just a blind force, it's usually an intelligence. Whether a person, a deity, um, yourself. With me, there's lots of selves, so, I mean, not like multiple personalities, but there's multiple ways that I'm used to looking at myself. So, I'm starting to become more heart-centered, is how I'm reading this. Perhaps more nurturing, even if I don't have a lot of people to nurture. Something I'm doing purposely, though, at this point, it's kind of pointing out, oh, hey, some of my stuff trying to get rid of interference and deal with the various strings attached. That's actually starting to be taken care of here. Or I should say, I'm starting to take care of that, and that is influencing the outcome. Here, the universe is responding with giving inspiration, really giving a modicum of power, and how that's changing my viewpoint is it's going from this kind of very sad, I'm having to take care of business and just heal on the inside, to being a somewhat of a I'm mastering my emotions, and I'm seeing that I'm starting to view this whole theme as the one to bring home the holy grail, so to speak, of my life. It becomes being the alchemist, to a certain degree. And then here, how other people are helping to fashion stuff is that, okay, well, what, are they going to totally defeat me? No. I actually consider that more about that it's an ego death. So here with defeat and the conflict there, yeah, they might put some conflict in, but it's actually honing all of this. In the end, how they're seeing things is that how they're seeing my dream is that I'm trying to become some sort of ascetic, or I'm being pious or something, which is fine. It's my journey, and I'm going to take it. Now, here's something that's interesting that got left out. It's not taking in any kind of romantic, or I don't usually get this with a lot of friends, so I'm going to associate that with either a romantic nature or being holistic. I really do feel like this has more to do with what I usually don't associate, which is going to be something to do with bringing together two opposites in life for a greater purpose. So whether that's a romantic relationship, or whether it's a unification of um, something else, I'm leaving that open in my mind because that detail doesn't seem quite as important given the nature of everything else being primarily my self-care. Out here, where we have stuff that's kind of manifesting in the end, the Prince of Cups, being a champion of the heart, being, you know, about heart-centered and compassion, all of a sudden becomes a really big thing. So I hope you enjoyed that, especially since this is my first one. Please leave a comment, um, and if you'd like to see more like this or have ideas or suggestions, feel free to contact me. Well, it's been awesome, and I wish every single one of you that watches this video to experiment, play around. You saw how I did it. You know my methods, and if you don't, I've kind of laid out the basics. I really encourage everyone to explore their own medium. That is to say, their tarot deck or whatever, and to eventually cultivate that to where they don't need someone telling them spreads. They just need to, from the heart, ask the right questions. Blessings.